So
Yeah, no, well, you look the type for 90s rave. I mean, I don't know. You'd have been a young attendee, I would have thought.
yeah, I just missed the sort of 90s rave because I was about 15, 16 when my mates or people I knew were going to like full on raves. Obviously, you need to have
Yeah.
fake ID at that time, and I was about a year out because I didn't really hit puberty till I was about 17. So I wasn't going anywhere. You know what I mean? At 15,
Uh-huh.
I'd have to sneak in through the back door. But I was into the music though. And have you taken that from Grandmaster Flash then? Is that why you think I'm into
Um,
rave?
yeah, I would say there's elements of that I would have picked up on for sure. Yeah.
Which is
But
good.
I think you just look the type.
Yeah, but which is really good because that's actually the brand image that I'm going for.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I do. I just love that era of artwork, graphic design,
Yeah.
styling, obviously
I've
music as
got
well.
loads. I kept loads of flyers from when I used to go out. I've got them in a scrapbook. So
Oh,
I thought
don't.
I'm gonna keep these. And like in my mind at the time, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna like show my kids, and my kids are gonna think like it's really cool, like what
Yeah,
I did. Obviously, now I've got kids, and they're like, 10 and 12. They're like, this is so cringy, or like they'll say stuff like on telly, like, why is it square? Why is the television program square, or what's with the graphics?
yeah,
Obviously so not cool. But I kept flyers, and they're really good. Thinking about it, they're actually quite a good design book
mm,
to look at. I first went to Ibiza in 1995, so like that's the age. Like two of my team were born in 1995. Oh,
really.
fuck's sake.
So you're more. I say take it you're more house music than say jungle or drum and bass or hardcore or techno.
Yeah. Really, I was house. I started off like fairly safe house and garage, as it was then called. Uh, my best, but my favorite part was like I was really into progressive house for a long time. Sasha, John Digweed, Renaissance. I've been to loads of gigs where Tim was, but I didn't know him then,
Right. Okay.
which is mad. Because Tim used to PR for Renaissance.
Yeah, it used to be. Yeah, it used to be. Not flyering, but be outside the clubs and getting people
Yeah,
in and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. So that's quite funny. I was quite into like my breaks. Um, Used to like breakbeat and stuff like that. It was good. And I mean, I've been to enough nights that I've been to hardcore nights. I've been to jungle nights. Like I remember going to a jungle night and just going, this is way too much for me. Way
Mm.
too much. Um,
But then about 2 hours later, you had your top off at the front, it's going mental.
yeah, no fun's a friend. Yeah.
Do you know what? I spoke to Tim once about nightclub promotion, and I said like that, like nightclub promotion is like the Hard Knocks school of marketing. You know, it's like boot camp for marketing because if you think about it, you're doing promotion, you do the design work, you're out, pressing flesh, giving out flyers, trying to get people into clubs, market research. It's you learn so much about marketing, promotion, communications, doing nightclubs. That's how I started. I actually started designing flyers for clubs. That's how I got into it. And it's funny that you say that you used to collect flyers. That's how I got into design, was by collecting
Right.
flyers. So things like Helter Skelter, Dreamscape, Fusion. I was obsessed with those flyers. I had in my bedroom at one point, you couldn't see any bit of wall space. Not only did I have them all around the walls, over the cupboards, any bit of space, I had them on the
Mm,
ceiling as well.
wow. But they were
And then
collectible. They were
they were
collectible
really
because like
collectible. Yeah.
every month, if you went to like a monthly night, which is the nights I went to tended to be monthly rather than weekly or fortnightly, you'd have a specific flyer for that night. So
Mm.
each flyer would look different. And at one point I had my own night and we would have different. There would be different color, different style, different thing for each event, because like each event was unique with a unique lineup and different DJs and all that kind of stuff. So it's a big part of it, actually, design, because you're competing with people's attention, and if you've got a cool design or iconic design, and thinking about it, some of the designs I think are a little bit shit, but like Progress in Derby, even though it was quite basic, you'd still could look at it and go, that's Progress.
Yeah. And Joe, actually, funny enough, I've got the David Avedon Beatles posters in front of me here. You can't see them, but the George Harrison one, where he's got his hand up, it's like an orange and green one. That used to be the main artwork for a club night called Desire. I don't know if you remember. If you Google it, but Desire night rave, it's him, and that image was used then. And yeah, so there was used to be an illustrator as well called Junior Tomlin, and I think he was the person that inspired me to go into graphics and illustration. I just used to love. He used to do the fusion, I think the Helter Skelter flyers. But that's how I got. And then obviously when I got older and was old enough to go clubbing, I then started playing music. I was in a band. I was a DJ and got into that world. And I know the guys that I used to make music with were also illustrators and designers, and that's whilst we were at university. And that's how I literally got into the industry from a design point of view. So yeah, I am really into my well, I say I'm into my rave now. I don't really rave at all, especially not at the moment. But I've made a little kind of few notes about things to talk about. I suppose the first thing, obviously we'll just have a nice chat, but the kind of first thing I put in there was just to kind of checking in with you and just seeing what's going on in the Ince household, and how's the last, I'm going to say 3 weeks, it's probably longer than 3 weeks now, but 3 weeks of lockdown, I suppose. What's happening? What have you gone mental?
I like to think that I've got quite good foresight, if I'm being honest, and I could see quite early where this was going. Like before people started to panic buy stuff, I had food in, and I also have face masks because I bought them before everyone ran out, and I've given them away now. But I just could see that something was going to happen. So actually, we stopped, in terms of work, we stopped working in the office 4 or 5 weeks ago, because it got to a point where I ended up just asking all of my team, like I just said, right, we're going to go around the room and you're going to say whether or not you still want to come in. Because I could see that like some people were getting a little bit like, because of where we are, there's a lot of footfall. People are coming, as soon as there was a report of a Loughborough student having contracted coronavirus, we knew that he's bound to have been in Bon Bon because that's where all the students go. So it just got to a point, I think, where I could tell that people were feeling a little bit nervous, and we said, what should we do? And everyone was like, yeah, I want to work from home. So I was like, it's fine, we can do that. And then obviously, people were sort of forced to work from home. So we sort of got a week and a half head start on that. But everyone, everyone's fine with working from home. It's different, and it's not what I want. And as soon as we're allowed to safely, I shall make a point of going back to the office, because the whole point of us being in that room and spending the money on that room is that we can be together and do that collaborative thing, which I think as great as things like Zoom and Teams and all that stuff is, I think when you're trying to create stuff, I think it is helpful to be together. Plus I like to be together. From a family point of view, family's fine. Me and my ex-wife, we treat ourselves as one household.
Yeah.
So again, we took that decision quite early, and we're like, right, okay, well, we'll treat 2 houses as one household. That means the kids can go backwards and forwards, which they're allowed to anyway. But we were like, right, okay, we're just not seeing our parents. Both of our parents are reasonably good at doing what they're told. They're not like some of these people that have just gone, oh, it's not real, it's just a flu, I'll just go and do what I want. They took it quite seriously. So we're like, right, okay, so we're sort of cocooned in our social bubble. The only risk is going out into the wider world. So it's not been too bad. I think homeschooling is just a nightmare and doesn't work. Under any circumstances. I just don't think that you can. I don't think that any child. Sorry, this is me going off on one a bit now.
No, go for it.
I don't think that any child realistically can swap their mindset from being at home to being at school without there being a physical movement. They all behave really well at school, right? Every parent's evening, you get told they're really well behaved. They all get on really well academically. One of them seems to be a maths genius for some reason. I've got I don't know where he's got it from. But when they're at home and you ask them to do schoolwork, it's just a non-starter. And of course, the thing is as well that I'm not a teacher. I've got no training. I'm all about the andragogy, not the pedagogy. Right? I can talk and teach adults. Sorry, I'm itching. I can talk and teach adults, but I struggle really with the teaching of kids. So what that means is I've basically given up work on a Friday.
Yeah.
Because I can't do both. So it's a weird time. It won't last forever. So Fridays go, and I'll just spend the time with the kids on Friday, and at least try and help them.
Are you given like a syllabus from the school of things, sort of recommended learning or things that they should be doing?
Oh, it's like school but without teachers. So right. It's all gone online. They get like each week they get the lesson plan, and they get all of their tasks for the week, and they have to do they have to do each task. So for the eldest, who's 12, he's like, he's at high school, so it's like geography, history, French, so that's kind of easy. Here's the task, and it's either a PowerPoint presentation which he learns from, or it's like research on the internet. And then the interactive stuff is all like interactive learning, and it's even like trigonometry and stuff like that, which I don't know how to use. So that's really structured. The primary stuff is a bit more flexible, kind of like draw a picture of your friends, or think about the dinosaurs. So it's slightly easier going, to be honest. The key thing is I can't answer questions for a high school child. I don't know anything about bloody geology anymore. I don't know what the difference is between one type of cloud and another type of cloud is. You learn it for your GCSE, and then it's like locked away.
Yeah, I didn't really do well at school anyway, so trying to revisit that now would be just impossible for me.
It's tough, but to be fair, we took the view that it doesn't matter. Do you know what? Like, I think if the kids were struggling academically, I think we would probably take it a bit more seriously. But they're all doing fairly well, so I know that they would be able to catch up if they needed to, and it's not worth the argument and the hassle.
So this year, obviously, depending what happens, how it pans out over the next few weeks and months, would I take it they won't return to school this academic year?
I can't see it.
No.
I can't see it. They've not said that because, of course, I guess the government doesn't want people to think that school isn't going to continue, because people will panic about that. They're obviously being really cautious about what they say when they say it. But I think it's fairly reasonable to assume that they won't be going back before September. If they do go back, they might go back for like a reorientation type of situation, I think, because it's the final term. The summer term's always really short anyway. There's only like a few weeks before it'll be half term, and then,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, and then summer. They won't go, right, okay, well, they'll have to go to school during the summer holidays. They won't do that because the unions won't allow them to do that. So yeah, so I think this year is a bit of a write-off. They'll learn what they learn, and they'll learn something.
They're learning stuff all the time. My little girl, she turned 3 on Tuesday, and even though she's not at nursery doing the normal play and activities, so she's probably missing a few things there. But in terms of socially and her personality and the way that we're interacting with her now, she's developed so much in the last few weeks, you know, in terms of her sense of humor, in terms of everything, well, in terms of the way that she's behaving, everything. So even though they may be losing certain things at school in regards to your kids, there'll be so many other things that they're developing in this time of this strange time of being with mummy and daddy.
YouTube, how to do better searches on YouTube,
Yeah.
how to win at Minecraft or whatever. Yeah. No, I agree. Actually, I think there's kind of, I guess, a framework of school which I do think is helpful for structure and things like that. But I think this, I guess the thing with school is that it's a leveler, isn't it? To a certain extent, you know, kids that don't have great opportunities have the opportunity at school in a different setting, in a safe setting, with people who are going to spend time helping them, educating them, and all that. Not every child is going to have great conversation at home. Not every parent is going to have creative parents like you two who are going to be able to, you know, let them flourish on maybe that more creative side of things. So yeah, I think that's, I don't know, without kind of sounding too I can't think what the word is, but I think that's one of the big risks about what they're doing. Obviously, you know, they can't just start schools again without it being safe. But of course, those kids that were behind anyway for background reasons will probably be even further behind. So they'll have to do some work there, I would imagine.
Yeah, and this is obviously a funny year for them. You know, depending, no matter what year you're in at school, it's a funny year for them. There's going to be a knock-on effect, you know, post this about, you know, depending on what the year, and if it's GCSEs, if it's key, I don't know if it is key stage 3 now, whatever, you know, what level they're at, how it's going to pan out. But the good thing is that they're all in the same boat. You know, they're all struggling and got the same challenges, and also I think there'll be leniency and a lot of I think people will be a lot more kind of forgiving if anything does go wrong in their schooling this year. I think people
yeah. No, I would agree. I do wonder what happens afterwards, like whether people will have short memories. So whether, you know, in like 10 years time, and they're comparing someone's CV with somebody else's or whatever they do at that point in time, and go, right, with, you know, they don't compute, you know, you were supposed to take your GCSEs in the Corona era, or the year after Corona era, or whatever. So it kind of depends on, I think with all of this, a lot of what happens after this is over depends on what direction the government want to take, whether this sort of experience kind of humbles a government into being a bit more altruistic in its outlook, a bit more societal in its outlook than maybe what it has been in the last 10 years. I think there'll be a huge clamour for it. I mean, you know, the NHS is just untouchable now. So I think it depends on what views they take then. But I suppose that's no different to any time, is it?
Yeah. No, it's interesting how things are going to pan out. So in terms of a work point of view, you know, it's quite exciting in terms of what we do. And, you know, being in social media, being in content and working in those areas, it's an exciting time. but obviously it's very, very difficult, because even though our tools, our platforms, the way that we work is so relevant now, unfortunately for our clients, a lot of them are struggling. So in terms of a work point of view, how are you finding what's going on at the moment? Have you seen, what opportunities you've seen, and what challenges are you having at the moment?
Well, we've lost some clients. I find language always really interesting, like language that people use to explain situations. So there's a difference in interpretation of what I think the word pause means.
Yeah.
So people talk about pausing. We'll pause this. We're just going to pause it now, which kind of gives an illusion of unpausing, or it gives a suggestion of unpausing at some point in the future. And I know that some will not unpause, because they just know that some people use it as an opportunity to go, right, okay, well, look, we'll just spend the money somewhere else, or whatever. Some will genuinely be a pause. I think it's interesting seeing their thought processes, or some people's thought processes in how and why they've come to that decision. There's definitely some companies that have just panicked, switch it off. Marketing, people always say marketing's the first thing to go. It's not always the first thing to go. I think it just depends on whether or not somebody sees, it depends on what road they take in the fork that they're traveling down. So when your business looks like it's going tits up, or the revenue isn't being generated, or not revenue, you're not making the profit that you want, right? You can either cut costs, which I think is a negative action and doesn't really do much for you anyway long term. Cut costs to survive, or you take the more positive view, which is to sell your way out of it. Because if you can generate more revenue, then fine. So it's been quite interesting to see which side of that fork people have chosen to go down. I've had one client where this is a perfect moment for them, but they've taken a different view. So yes, the impact of that is tough, because it means that we've lost a certain amount of revenue, but we've also picked up work as well. So we've picked up a new client last week. But what is quite interesting is where some of our focus has switched. Not for our business, although we've definitely been doing some of that. But I think the first thing that people wanted to do when this all sort of kicked off was communicate. We need to communicate about something. People don't know what to communicate about. They just feel like they want to communicate about something, and it's taking quite a bit of energy to try and convince people that maybe communicate is not necessarily the thing that you need to do. Like no one needs. So like the classic example I think is the email, which everyone's received tons of, saying we're now working from home. But literally no one gives a shit. Everyone's working from home.
Yeah.
And so it's this like need to like communicate something, but they don't know what for. So doing that more effectively, that's something that we've been able to offer. We've been able to say, well, look, we know what to say, and we know how to say it and when you should say it. And it isn't necessarily by social media or by this or whatever means it. Let's work it out. So one of the things we've been quite busy over the last few weeks, because this is a very moving feast, a very fast situation. Mood changes like every day. Like last week, we had a plan for if Boris Johnson died.
Right.
If he dies, what's the plan? Because if he dies, it'd be such a moment of national shock that if you're like posting stuff about hey, we can all get through this together, or whatever. It just won't be appropriate. So understanding that is important, and understanding how to react to stuff like that, and how quickly to react to stuff is stuff that we've been able to demonstrate our value. So I think the day after lockdown, we contacted all of our clients and said, we're pulling all posts today. We just, it's not like someone has died or anything, but we're just not posting today because actually we can see that the mood has gone like this. Everyone's like, shit, lockdown. Right? What does that mean? We've never, no one living has ever had to do anything like that before. So then we said, okay, well, actually we'll start up again on the Wednesday. And actually being able to react to that demonstrated to a lot of our clients the value that we could offer. So that was really helpful. What we have seen working really well though is writing. So long form blog, we call it blogs or articles for publication or anything like that. That's worked really well because it's more in depth.
Yeah.
It's considered. It's not as reactionary. You can respond to what people are searching for and address issues that people have got. We've seen our traffic rise. We've seen clients' traffic rise where we've sort of pivoted a bit, and say, well, look, we'll still do social media, but we'll do a bit more writing than we would social media. We'll put more efforts into this kind of stuff. Where some clients aren't really selling that much, the thing about writing is that it's brand building as well.
Yeah.
And by continuing to build your brand, as long as you can keep that going, when the situation ends, like, eventually it will, you're at an advantage then because you are in someone's mind. So you're not starting from standing still. And I think we've been quite good at being able to convince people on that. So we've put a lot more focus in our work on writing and producing better content than just promoting a flash sale or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's almost that I've keep getting pitched on LinkedIn and stuff, and the more I got pitched, the more I kind of felt that I'm not going to be that person. I'm not going to sell. I'm just going to just keep making content like I did before, keep getting stuff out there, stay visible, just grab attention where I can. But the first thing that we kind of did during lockdown was we just looked at our website and just thought, like, this is a good time for us to really look at our website and craft our message in a different way. And I think it's given us the time and the opportunity to do that. We're lucky that we've got some good projects on the go anyway that started just before Christmas and just after Christmas, and we're in the midst of them at the moment. So I've been in a lucky position that it's kind of in some ways just business as usual, that we're still working on our clients, we're still building things. Two websites that we're building at the moment, we've just finished one, we've got two that we're building at the moment. They're desperate to launch these websites now. They want to launch them whilst things are happening. They're two software companies, so they want their websites going. So it's kind of feels like our normal work is business as usual, but in terms of that will finish within the next few months, then what do we look like? And we've been calling where it's like seed 3.0 almost. What do we look like in this, and what do we look like after this? But not making like brash decisions right now, not saying, well, we're this or we're going to look like this and we're going to do that. We're just kind of absorbing the information, seeing what's going on. We're looking around, same with our clients as well, not just for us. We do the same process for our clients, and just taking each day as it comes and not even making changes, just talking about subtle changes that what we can do. Watching what was going on, I could see businesses making knee-jerk reactions. I could see people changing their business models online day by day. And I just thought, that's risky business there. I think because you're changing your business model for what it looks like in the world globally right now, today, we don't even know what it's going to look like tomorrow. So I could see a massive rush for people to be training and creating media and doing things within remote working, within online training, just frantically trying to keep up with what was going, and almost trying to follow what was going and be slightly ahead of it. And I just thought, no, I'm not going to do that. I am going to stick to our guns in what we do, what we offer, what our mission is. But I'm just going to adjust the message, and I'm going to adjust. Basically, what's been really, really great is our systems and processes. So we obviously, like yourself, we work remotely, and we have worked remotely for years and years now. But I think for us now, we've been as productive as we've ever been. We can still create meaningful work. We can still create great work from anywhere. And that's whilst juggling housework, children, everything. So actually coming through this and out of this, we're going to adjust the way that we work for the foreseeable. And that's been I think that's been quite positive, actually.
Do you still have an office?
We do still have an office. But we are really thinking about whether or how and what we do with it post this, whatever. We don't even know what this is or when it's going to end.
Yeah.
And I suppose with us, without going into too much financials, a lot of our money, our wages, goes on childcare. So depending on how we look in the next weeks and months financially, that will dictate what we can and can't do in terms of childcare. Obviously, we've got 2 children, and out of a working week, 6 days out of that working week with 2 children, they're in childcare combined. That is. So depending how we look financially, will let us know what childcare we can have. Now, the less childcare that we can have in terms of our finances will mean the less need that we have for an office.
Yeah.
So that's what we've got to try and figure out now. And also over the last sort of 6 to 12 months, no more than that, 12 to 18 months, we've been growing our team globally. So most of our animators are based in Poland, they're in Germany. We've got people that we work with all over the show, and that's growing and growing, and we've enjoyed that. We've enjoyed that, and our office was basically somewhere to house our computers, have something that was kind of an inspiring environment, because it's a lovely, beautiful office. But now we're looking at thinking, should we be running this office? Do we actually look at a different way of working? Do we actually continue the remote working? Do we continue to think about work and the way that we run our business day to day? Do we think about it in a different way? I think we are. I think we're talking about it now, that we are actually going to change that. And the question is, are we going to go back to office and work like we did before? I'll be honest with you, I don't think we are. I think it's going to look very different. I don't know if that's the same for you.
Well, I think that applies to a lot of businesses. I think they'll clearly forcing people to work from home will open certain businesses' senior leadership up to the idea that it can be done and it can be as productive, and that they don't need to make people have a 90-minute, 2-hour commute into the office just for them. I think that's a huge plus. See, at the beginning of the year, I introduced total flexible working. We were sort of reasonably flexible anyway, but I wanted us to have the flexibility. I want us to be a modern workplace, really, and I wanted us to have the flexibility to fit work around life rather than life around work. And when I set up the business, I didn't set it up to kind of have this lifestyle that I have. That's just a byproduct of it. But it's the part that I appreciate more than anything else, because I don't take a lot out of the business. So it's not like I'm driving around in a flash Tesla or anything like that just to prove that I've got big balls or whatever. It's I just don't do that. So, but and I never set out to have this flexible lifestyle, but it's the bit that I enjoy. So I don't feel that I can do that if I don't let others. And yeah, so we do it all on trust anyway, and people work when they want, and that works well. I think what this might do for me is, I suspect. See, Fridays I always worked from home anyway, or I said I worked from home because I would always do the school run, and I'm not doing the school run and then coming into Loughborough and then like coming back for about 3 hours later to try and do the school run. But sometimes I would come in, and I would always work, even if it would work from home. But I'm kind of minded to, because now Fridays is just totally off limits. I just don't do any work on a Friday, not even like try and catch up. Like normally on a Friday, I would go and have meetings on a Friday.
Yeah.
I could do a lunch meeting with someone on a Friday because it's Friday, so why not? And the timing works well. But I suspect after this, I won't even do that. Like I will do 4 days, because I can be as productive, and it's the whole Parkinson's law thing, isn't it? You fill the time that you've got. So if I haven't got the time, then I won't be able to fill it any more than I can. So I think that would be the biggest impact for me. I suppose what I'm worried about is whether people who were in the office have enjoyed working from home and don't want to come into the office.
Right.
Because I do want there to be an office.
Yeah.
So, but I can't have my cake and eat it. I've either got to say flexible working or not, and hope that we've got the culture that makes people want to come into the office. Plus, I've just spent a fortune building a podcast studio in that room, which I can't actually use at the moment. So I'm going to get as much use of that as I can.
Yeah, I think including myself, I think most people enjoy being in a communal office around other people. I think we're social beings, aren't we? I think the majority of the time people want to be around other people. And I think if you've got an office, I think people will use it. It's interesting what you're saying about work-life balance. I suppose one thing this has definitely opened up conversations in my house is about childcare. It's about raising our children. It's about balancing work and so on. And, we for so many years we've worked around the sort of 9 to 5 Monday to Friday thing, and I think for most people now it's just gone. The Monday to Friday thing, it's just Saturday's a Monday, and a 9 p.m. is the same as a 7 a.m. and what we're doing here is we're doing shift work. So myself or Natalie will, if one of us is doing the morning with the children, the other is working, and we flip it around, and then there's flexibility in the day, and then in the evening we'll do some business planning, or we'll write emails, or I'm doing video work, podcasts, that kind of stuff. It literally is like a 12 to 14 hour day in shifts, in little bits. But it mixed in that day though, there's like beautiful moments where we do go in the garden, or we do go for a walk, because we live in the countryside. It's lucky, we can go to the countryside, and then if we want to just have lunch together, we do these things, and we kind of talked about it and thought, why stop doing this? When we come out the other end of this, let's continue to do this. I suppose the only thing that we're desperate for, and we love spending the time with our children, but it's hard to get any headspace, or hard to really dive into your work when, obviously, this is my office at the moment, and you can see, it's everything. It's a lounge, it's a creche, it's an office. And obviously we need to break away and have our workspace and work time. I suppose to your original question, what does that workspace and time look like now? Is it 9 to 5? Is it in an office? And I love my office, but I just got a feeling now, even when lockdown ends, I just got a feeling my office is going to be empty. It's going to be empty for a long time, because I don't know how the phase back in is going to happen. And some of our childcare is done by Natalie's mum and dad. When's it going to be safe to be taking kids to nursery, then they go to the grandparents? I don't think it's just going to be oh yeah, Boris just said today that it's all good now, we can all go back to nursery.
It won't be like that. No, I think we're in this for long. Yeah, totally. I think, and they just don't know enough about it. They don't even know whether you're really immune after you've had it, or if you are, for how long, whether it will come back in winter like other viruses, or whether it will just be constant, whether it will mutate. They just don't know. So the thing is, I suppose, which I find is quite, in a way, it's kind of bleak, but it's almost bleak in an interesting way. You can't project into the future. You can't really project. It is a bit hand to mouth, day by day. let's just see where we are, and you know, you've got to have that flexibility of mindset in order to be able to adapt, because you can't get used to one way of working. And I think if people think that suddenly we're going to be able to do something, they're going to be in a really odd place. Like the whole change curve thing, this is such a classic example of like the whole change curve thing. Like, where are you on this change curve? Because there are some people that are still in denial about what the virus is, or denial about what it can do. You know, we've all seen pictures of people, you know, is it 600 illegal gatherings in Manchester a couple of weekends ago or something like that.
It's one behind you, like that's what it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but you know, there's people who are at different places in this, and I think I'm definitely in the, I can't remember what the actual part is, but I'm past acceptance. I've gone through denial. I'm past acceptance. You know, I'm thinking about what it looks like, where it needs to be. I think about things like, well, you know, if it is September when the kids go back, fine. If it's not safe to go back in September, or they go back in September and they can only do certain things, you know, is that okay? Will they, if they develop like a better online sort of version of school than the hodgepodge that they've put together, you know, well, that'll be okay, won't it? And you know, if the, you know, if business is so uncertain that people eventually that were kind of happy to wait say, well, we just don't know and we're going to have to cancel, the business will look like something else, and I'll just roll with it. And
the actual day-to-day working of business in terms of remote working, obviously, and I know you're similar to this, that you know, you can work remotely, you know, that whole thing for me personally is never been an issue. I suppose for where I'm looking at the moment is what does the market look like? What does, you know, so one of my clients, they do bespoke luxury holidays to Africa, and their main market, their main customer for that is over the age of 65. So bespoke holidays to Africa. They do other holidays around the world, you know, for them, and we're sort of talking to them and working very closely with them. It's very, very hard to plan what that's going to look like. We know that the travel bans and Africa have closed their doors. They've not really had in certain places much of the virus yet, and they don't want it either. They don't have the healthcare service that like we do. We've got another client in recruitment. Obviously, no one's employing at the moment. There's like short-term vacancies and short-term, you know, contracts and stuff. That's kind of still happening, but that's been put on hold. And that's the kind of annoying thing, really. Like in terms of what we do and what we offer, you know, we offer website builds, animated content, you know, digital marketing. It's prime time. It's just that my clients aren't in a position to spend money at the moment because they're still waiting to see how this is going to pan out. And I suppose it's that kind of, we're in this period of just waiting almost, but you know, should we be reacting or should we be waiting? And I think everyone's torn, I think, in between that. I think some days you're reactive and you want to move forward, and then some days you're like, whoa, let's hang on a little bit here, let's see how it pans out. I think there's a lot of people sort of feeling like that.
I think I was reading something else the other day about you know, how I don't know if you've come across this at all, but certainly I've seen a lot in things that I've read or followed or circles that I'm in. This whole concept of, you know, prior to coronavirus, niche. Find your niche. Double down on your niche. Right. If we're digital marketing for African luxury holidays, right? Great. We're the best people in the industry. If you're a holiday company that markets to over 65s who want to go to Africa, you know, there's no other marketing company like it. We are literally the best because we have all the domain knowledge. And there's been this mantra about niching and finding your niche and being the expert for years. Well, that's all gone to shit, really, because if you've niched into an area that's closed overnight, hospitality, retail, fitness to a certain extent, holidays, travel, then that's a catastrophe.
Mm.
So I think it's a lesson in breadth and the power of breadth. And I'm thankful that we didn't niche. I mean, we've got a little bit of a niche in the tech sector, but hey, everyone's working and needs tech, so that's kind of lucky. But I think that's a key lesson, is that don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's always been the case, in every recession that I've lived through, and also not to necessarily, also to think and make your own decisions, and to not just do what you hear people say on the internet about find your niche and have your niche, because it can be a disaster. So I think that's been quite an interesting one, just to see that. But I think I'm not look, I actually quite like a pivot. Like, someone said to me once, I should have a membership. And I said, there's no way that I want a membership, because I know that memberships are all about customer loyalty, being there, showing up, being consistent, the long game. And I just have too many shiny objects to look at. So that's definitely not for me. So I'm kind of more of a person that will kind of not go, oh, there's an opportunity, because I hate the word entrepreneur, because I think it's far too overused. I don't know how you describe yourself. I'm a business owner, right? I own a business. Now, could somebody define me as an entrepreneur? Well, you could say, oh, okay, well, Marketed Live's quite an entrepreneurial thing, because it's a bit risky. Let's face it. And I do have ideas. I think, oh yeah, actually there's an opportunity there for, I don't know, email crisis management or something like that. Let's put something together for that. But I don't like the word entrepreneur, mainly because preneurs just put on everything, like mumpreneur and what did I see the other day? I saw something that made me want to be sick, but it was something preneur anyway. It's probably like yogapreneur or something like that. But
I think you're definitely good at seeing business opportunities, but you stick to what you know and what you enjoy, which keeps you on a track. I think people that are entrepreneurial tend to sort of jump into things and start multiple things and try and make money out of multiple things, and have a portfolio of businesses. Where I know with what you've done, I know you've been good, because obviously you've passed work my way that go, I don't do that. I could take that on, but I don't do that. Johnny can do that. I do this, and I want to do it really, really well. Which means I think that you're very enterprising, and obviously you're a business owner. But yeah, I think entrepreneurial would mean that
I'm too risk averse to be entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
I'm not a massive fan of risk. I'm actually more of a risk taker than I thought I would ever be. Like, I'm much. The thing that I've learned about having a business for 5 years is to go with the decision, and to go all in on the decision, and to commit to the decision.
Yeah.
Not to the point where it necessarily fails. I think you've got to be able to go, okay, shit, hang on, that's not the right thing to do. But I'm a lot faster in making a decision now than I was 5 years ago. I would totally and I'm not sure, and what do you think? And let's just have a look at this. And now I think I'm much better at going, well, my experience says this, and my instinct says this, and I think this is the right thing to do. So let's give it a go. I'm much better at that. And I think one thing that I've noticed actually in the last few weeks is, I do a lot of nosing around. I call it observation, but I see other people, either not necessarily competitors, but people that are in the same industry and have their own businesses. How are they responding to some of this? I think I'm grateful that I've got a certain amount of experience, because I think it's been helpful in going, okay, I think we'll be all right on this. We need to do this now, or this is what's gonna happen if this happens, and I feel better for having some kind of plan.
Mm.
You know, I've got a plan if we lose a half our clients or 2/3 of our clients. You know, there is a plan that means that I can still put food on the table. And I think that has genuinely helped me respond to clients better as well.
Yeah.
Whereas I think those companies that are new or newer, that maybe don't have the experience, I can see have struggled to find the right tone, or to find what's the right thing to say, what's the right thing to do. You know, some people have panicked, some people have, like you've said, just like gone all in on the let's try and adapt really quickly, and let's work on the thing that it is now, without being able to think about what's at their core. And what's still going to, it's like the human body and your vital organs. You know, your fingers go numb to protect your heart and your lungs and your brain, right?
Yeah.
That's just like a business, I think.
Well, that was actually the last thing I was going to talk to you about, was planning. I've been listening to podcasts and stuff, and there's one particular podcast that was talking about 90-day planning. Obviously, the lockdown, with, you know, is provisionally saying 12 weeks, so 90 days. So how are you planning, and how are you phasing the planning out, and what does that look like?
Well, it comes back down to this change curve thing, I think. Like, I've been through the point where I've had my little panic to myself. Yeah. What does it mean? You know, because as we've touched on, if a client panics and stops working with you, and a few of them do that, they're all going to do that around about the same time, because there was definitely a panic period. You know, that the impact of that is to send me into a panic, because I'm like, well, if I feel like I'm hemorrhaging clients at this rate, and that continues, and this is a disaster. Well, that hasn't happened. So I've gone through that sort of panic phase. My planning is really, I spent a bit of time. I think it's about a day, actually, and I actually told the team I'm gonna basically have like an emergency planning day, if you will. Just, I'm not contactable. I need to be in a space and go somewhere and kind of work it out. So that's what I did. I revised numbers. Our financial year is April to March, so I'd literally just written a financial year plan, you know, for my like phenomenal growth that we're going to achieve, and how big the team's going to be. And of course, like overnight, so it's a bit irrelevant, really. So I sort of rewrote some of that, but only some of it. And I was like, well, I'm going to do a quarter. I'm only going to plan for a quarter. I feel much better for having put the energy and time into that, because now it's on paper. And so that's what I can go and refer back to. In fact, someone actually said to me once, when I was first starting the business, they were like, I had like a business coach provided from the university to begin with. And they said, they got me to write a letter to myself of like, what happens if it goes really tits up, right? And just to put it away and file it, and don't look at it until you need it.
Have you got that letter out?
I've never, well, I can't even remember where it is, but I did write it, but I never looked at it. But yeah, I think once it's down, when something's down on paper, this is for me anyway. When something's down on paper, I feel like, okay, I've done that, I've thought about that, so I don't need to panic, because it's planned for. And then I can adapt. I can adapt with things. And then to be fair, like, I'm much better at saying, to, like, you know, the team. Like, so one of my teams, her dad has been in the hospital with coronavirus, on a ventilator, all of that kind of stuff. He's better now. So you know, there's that to deal with. You know, JP, who's got young kids, he's like, oh, I might not be around at this point. I'm like, I really don't give a shit. Just, you know, you just do what you need to do at this point. We don't know what's going to happen. Life's too important. Everyone can just do what they want to do. We've got a plan. We know what's going to happen. And there are some, I don't share everything with the team because stuff's not always appropriate, but everyone knows that this is what we need to do in order to make sure that we're all in the job at the end of it. And everyone's bought into that, and that's great because it then takes pressure off me, because everyone's buying into it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I did the same thing here. Me and Natalie, in week 1, we rang all our team and said, this is where we're at. This is what we're going to have to do. This is how we're going to get through this. A bit of a pep talk, get everyone sort of geared up, and literally day by day we're speaking to the team. Got WhatsApp groups, we've got Slack groups, and just getting everyone through it, and just and told everything how it was going to get paid and how the money was going to move around, and be totally transparent about that. And same with all the clients. Natalie literally rings and talks to clients, emails clients every single day about what's going on, how it's going to work, how the jobs are happening, where it's moving. We offer loads of advice and suggestions and ideas, and just try and play a much bigger role in terms of idea generation, in terms of our clients, and talk about things that we could do, and almost just to say, look, we're still here, we're here to help. Try and just develop those relationships and communicate at such a high level at the moment.
I think that's really good, because one thing I've noticed from the clients that we're still working with, a lot of them have been very, very collaborative. Like we're talking about, this is when I get to talk to them, I suppose, because it's my relationship with a lot of them. But I'm talking to them about how their business is doing and what are they struggling with and what are they finding, and we're comparing notes. When do you have to furlough people? When do you have to, and all of this kind of thing, which has been like really helpful. And I do think that the clients that we keep at the end of this will be ones that we'll keep for a long time.
Yeah.
Because I think we'll actually have a deeper relationship at the end of it. With several of them, we're all like passing information to each other about how you get this grant or how you get that grant, and do you qualify for this, or what's the wording that you put to your landlord to say you're not paying the rent, and can they evict you or can they not? Do you know what I mean? It's like suddenly there's like almost an extra community of business owners that I feel like I'm able to tap into, in addition to the ones that I know already. And I think in general, I think people will remember a lot about this whole episode, and they'll remember businesses that got it right and businesses that got it wrong. Like I'm not saying that like Sports Direct or Weatherspoons are going to go bust, because I think people will have certain short memories when the tracksuits and the beer is cheap. But I think there will be a certain certain companies will struggle. I think people will remember about Weatherspoons because they'll, their attitude about making people go into work and not looking after their staff when they feel unsafe. Waterstones, really surprising. Waterstones, like forcing people to go and work just because they want to sell books. I think people remember things like that. So I think, think about your mantra of be useful, be kind. I think it's really appropriate for these times, because that's what people will remember.
Yeah, it's a different way of treating people, and I'm actually writing a little bit now about mindful business. Obviously, being mindful and being a nice person and doing business, there was also a lot of overlap, but now more so than ever, in terms of the way that we treat people, we treat our employees, how we treat our peers, our mentors, how we treat our customers, and vice versa. Like this is the great leveler now. It's a level playing ground for everyone, clients, customers, staff, and now because we're all in the same, it doesn't matter if you're rich, poor, you're the CEO or the janitor, we're all in the same boat. And it is,
Yeah.
people are going to remember how people were treated, and we're going to remember the businesses that really listened and worked with their staff and their customers and treated them well, and vice versa. So no, I agree. I think when we come out the other end of this, the world's going to look very different. And people are going to think, and people are going to be different. I already feel different already. You know,
That's
we're
interesting.
4 weeks in.
I don't. And I don't know. I don't know whether it's like a natural pessimism. I don't know what it is. I don't feel different. I feel like it will be different for sure, but I don't feel different.
So I feel, in a weird way, I feel better than I did before this virus, because before this virus, I think I was worrying a lot more. I think in terms of my own business, I used to looking at other people's businesses and what they were doing, and when we had good months or bad months, or I had had anxiety about what I was doing and who I was. And I almost feel that that's kind of gone now, because I feel like I used to say to Natalie before this happened, like, I feel like I've got more to give. I feel like there's something missing from my life. And obviously it wasn't a pandemic that I was missing, but I felt like I wanted to give more. I wanted to help more. I wanted a more of a stronger purpose in what I was doing. Like, making money and being a nice person wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for me. I needed something else. And once all this started unraveling, it almost felt like I had a message, or I had a more, I don't know, it's difficult to describe, but there was feelings and anxieties that I had that disappeared and have disappeared during this process. And it's not like I'm out there saving lives. I don't work for the NHS, but I'm trying to give more. I'm trying to be more. I'm trying to grow more as a person through this process. So I'm sure tomorrow I'll probably feel different. Well, I will do. It's my birthday, so I'll go figure it out. But I don't know. It's just an unusual emotional time, spiritually and physically. It's just crazy.
I think I've definitely been more emotional. I've definitely been more emotional, because I think it's hard not to be. I think it's hard not to be. And I mean, I'm not emotional about the business, because I think that I'm fairly confident that whatever happens, I have a future.
Yeah.
So, if the business goes wrong or goes belly up, then, you start again. And I think because everything in the business is based on relationships, I've got the relationships there. So I've been emotional about that. I have been emotional about the volume of death.
Yeah.
I can't handle the numbers at all. And what worries me really is kind of becoming numb to the numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very much not numb to the numbers, but I can't. I suppose I feel a bit angry, really, that it's just like, 717 people have died today in the last 24 hours. Like, I mean, there's no emotion attached to reading out of the numbers, or the numbers on the screen, or whatever it is. There's no outrage that I think that there's no grief. I think there's no grief, and there should be.
Yeah.
It's people's relatives that are experiencing the grief, and I think there should be a lot more grief. But that's what I think is maybe missing. But things like the clapping on a Thursday, can't handle it. I can't, like, it's so I don't know why it seems so ridiculous a thing not to be able to handle, but that like I only thought it was gonna be like for 1 week. I just thought it was like a one-off thing.
Yeah.
And now it's like an every week thing. I mean, I like it. I think it's nice, and I live on a road where all of the neighbours get on really well. And so there's, this has not brought our community closer together because we're close anyway.
Yeah.
But I do find it emotional still every week, just thinking about what that's about and what those people are doing.
Yeah, because I did it the first week, and we've obviously been involved in. When I didn't go the first week. I was at the front door, you know what I mean, and it was big, you know what I mean, and it was moving, really moving, and it was that moving that every week after that, it's almost like I haven't wanted to do it the same because that was so important. And I think little things like there should be more things like that, you know, of doing stuff. I don't know what you can do. There's not much you can do with social isolation at the moment, but it was powerful. It is powerful, and it's interesting. You talked about this at the beginning. You know, like how the NHS is almost untouchable now. It's, you know, we always knew how important it was, and we, you know, and it was during the elections and privatization and, you know, things going on like in within government and stuff, like it was talked about, and we all knew deep down that we needed the NHS. I think we now is just like, it's just proving it is solid, like how much we need a free healthcare service. And, you know, I think coming out the other end of this, I think, you know, I will do everything I can. I will pay more tax so that nurses could get paid more wages. You know, they need to be on a good wage.
People will totally be prepared to pay more tax if that is ring fenced. They'll have to, you know, they'd have to say it would be ring fenced, right? But people will willingly pay more tax for it, because if they didn't appreciate it before, they appreciate it now. And, you know, with a bit of luck, members of the government who've, I don't know, been in hospital will also feel the same. So I mean that would be an interesting change in society, like how that shifts, and it'd be interesting to see how, like, what changes they make to so at Leicester Comedy Festival this year, I went to two things. One that I went to with friends was on a Thursday night, and it was like a lefty political singer kind of guy, would like sing songs about politics, and I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. He was terrible. It was absolutely dismal. But because it was more of a lecture than it was a song. But I did actually learn a bit about economics, and how he was just basically saying, do you know what? At the end of the day, tax is just a political decision. They can literally print money. So if you want to fund something, they can fund it. So it'll be an interesting time how society changes there, whether they become more caring. I think I'm kind of hopeful that people will be generally more considerate of other people, because it's a collective thing that everyone's going through. And actually what's interesting is that it's a global thing, and I do wonder whether people will finally wake up to this idea of a global society, which, you know, maybe, for example, 52% of the UK don't believe in, but you know, you've got doctors and nurses from all over the world saving people's lives in this country, but also it's a collective, it's, you know, it's globally, it's affecting the whole world, isn't it, in the same way. And I do wonder whether that as a global community that will bring us together, or the opposite of that, which apparently is going to happen, is that China will come out as with the upper hand because of how they controlled it, and they're through it, so they've got a head start, and it's the end of America. But you know, we'll see.
I think that it goes back to that thing. It's like, you know, thinking globally, acting locally. And I think, you know, there are going to be countries that are going to come out really well out of this. Some other countries are going to be brought to their knees. But what does international look like now in terms of trade, in terms of culture, in terms of everything? Like, I think for me, like we had a really emotional phone call with my mum yesterday. She was upset. She was meant to be here. It's my birthday tomorrow. They were coming up. And, you know, and we've all just said, look, after this, we're going to spend more time with each other. We're going to get together. We're going to go on holiday together. We're going to do all these things. And, you know, and all the conversations I'm having with friends and family and colleagues at the moment are so positive. And it's not about big picture stuff anymore. It's about small, local, family relationships, friendships, and just kind of going back to old traditional morals and principles and a way of life. And I don't know, you can see, I can't see at the moment in here, but we've gone back to washable nappies. I don't know how I've got into nappies so quick, but cooking,
Yeah,
meal.
that is an interesting one. The cooking thing. Everyone's going to know how to cook.
Yeah. I've been really cooking loads, and just buying things like pulses and cooking with lentils and beans,
or even cooking with whatever you've got.
Yeah.
Like for my, I mean, I have to say I am loving this bit because I'm reasonably frugal. I don't like waste, right? For all sorts of reasons, but including like the global climate and all that kind of stuff. But I've never liked waste, and it's been really good to have the backup to be able to say to the kids, "Well, look, right, we haven't got anything else." I know you don't like that. I know you don't like that particular flavour of sausage, but that's what we've got.
Yeah.
Right. You don't like that cheese? No cheese for you. It's just that's been very helpful, and I do think that's going to have a positive impact, because it's very easy for kids to just go, well, I want that because it's available, or I want that because it's not available, or do you know what I mean? Whereas when you go, well, go and see if you can get some.
Yeah.
Go and see if you can get any flour.
Maybe next time we talk, you'll be in the back garden with your washboard, cleaning your pants, eating tripe. Maybe.
Hey, I've sown my seeds from my vegetables.
Yeah, I have mine right down here. You can't see them, but all my little seedlings are growing as we speak.
So I read somewhere about like how we are the virus, like on the earth. Like when you look at like the lowering of emissions and all of the things, like pollution levels in Delhi being the lowest they've ever been, and yada yada yada. Like humans are the ones that have really caused it, isn't it? For example, if humans didn't eat meat, that wet market in Wuhan wouldn't have existed.
No, you're right.
So I think, society globally will change. I think
if we don't change, we are truly doomed, aren't we? Really?
We are. Yeah. It's a good way to look at it. If it's, it's got to cause people to rethink. I mean, I'm already rethinking a lot of stuff, because you have the experience and you go, well, do you know what? I can make my own pizza bases. It's not that hard. I can do it. So you do it.
Yeah. Well, dude, let's touch base again soon. Let's chat again soon. It's been good to talk to you. You've done really well.
With all of this info, you're going to write a book, or what? You're going to come up with thinking.
As soon as all this happened, the first thing I thought was that I need to document this, because, in 6 months and a year, I want to be able to look back and listen to this and watch these and look at the journey. And I'm trying to document and journal as much as I can. Like, I'm trying to make 1 or 2 videos a week of whether it was just my mobile phone or GoPro or my DSLR, whatever it is. I'm podcasting as well. I'm trying to mix it up. I've still got about 3 months of content that I'm releasing, which is kind of like, it's a bit weird. Like, in the peak of the stuff that's going on, I'm still putting just normal content out there, because I think, there is going to be the other end of this, but I'm trying to document and journal what's going on. And make this information and put it out there and digest it and make it relevant for other people. I'm touching base now, and I'm reconnecting with the universities, and I'm going to be doing a lot more sort of like tutoring online for graduates and freelancers. So loads of things that you've said about brand building, about understanding where you are in your change curve, your financial year planning, your quarterly 90-day planning, collaborative thinking, good business, bad business, thinking about the culture in your business. I've been making notes. It's so relevant right now. So I'll if you're happy, this will go out on the podcast and the vlog, if you're happy. I think you've done really well, actually, because that guy's been licking your arm through the whole of this. This one. Yeah. You fit in right. You're like some sort of rave gang leader. It's been really hard to take you seriously all the way through this. Like, you
Well,
know, with your mates.
That's the point. Where's the hang on I'm the wrong thing. The alternative is really quite boring because I'm in one of the kids' bedrooms.
Oh, that's all right.
It's all right, isn't it? There's this one which is a bit more corporate.
Yeah, it's very good. No, the rave was better.
I tend to do them for like. So here's one of my clients.
Oh yeah.
So I've done one. You know Felicia.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I say clients. She's a client now. And I say invite someone to speak, and they want to work with me. Fantastic. But yeah. Otherwise, yeah. I'm just in. Oh, hang on. Where is it? In the bedroom. Which is, when you're on like a really important call, and they're like, "Is that a Roman shield made out of cardboard behind you?" And you go, "Yes, it
Oh
is."
yeah. And a guitar.
And a guitar. And there was a marble run a week or so ago that was very precarious, but if I'd have knocked it over, I would have been killed.
Yeah.
A 10-year-old. So.
Oh, good. But you're keeping well though. You're all
Yeah.
right. Yeah, good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've kind of realised that maybe I'm more of an introvert than I thought.
Mm.
Because I have no intention of going outside and crossing people's path. Like 2 meters is fine.
Yeah.
I've realised that 2 meters is the minimum that I will accept.
Yeah.
Even without coronavirus, I don't like it when people get in my face. So
No.
I've started to do like early morning walks, like get one of those like hot coffee mug things that keep it warm, have a cup of tea in that, and just walk around the village.
Yeah.
Which is a bit weird because it's not really that much exercise, but yeah, it's all right. I miss a few things. I really miss going to the gym actually, even though towards the end I was like, no, this is too risky, this is too dirty.
Yeah. Oh, that's a breeding ground for it, isn't it?
Yeah. So I stopped that quite early,
But the walking around though, like it's almost surreal, isn't it? Because when you're out and about, it's so quiet. But then you hear the birds singing that you don't really notice as much.
oh
And then,
yeah.
and you see things. And do you know what? I'm a spotter of bridle paths at the moment. Like I like a good bridle path. Like it's an adventure. Where does that go? Where can that lead me? And start, because I run most days. Every other day I'll run, and I'm always looking for bridle paths. Where can I go and explore and stuff? And yeah, I like it. It's good. You know what I mean, it's wicked. And I'm listening to I listen to podcasts and listen to audiobooks when I'm out and about, and it always seems to be really fitting with what's happening when I'm out and about. Like the audiobook will be talking about something and where I'll be, and then like this, I'll see nature, and it's just
What
cool.
are you reading or listening to at the moment then? Because I found myself like I would normally read. I normally do like morning reading and bedtime reading. Like morning reading, I tend to do like learning stuff, and bedtime reading would always be fiction. Like fiction's gone a little bit out of the window, and I don't really understand why, but it has. And I found myself reading a bit more kind of like woo-woo, kind of like better yourself stuff. I'm reading this book called The Surrender Experiment at the moment.
Right. Okay.
Which is basically, I'm only halfway through it. It just seems to be a story. It's like a true story, or like he says it's a true story. I mean, it might not be, because there's some really weird things that go on and go, really? But basically he's decided that he's just going to let life happen and fit in. So if, like, for example, if so in this one bit, he's like really into yoga and meditation. That's all he wants to do. Doesn't want to work. And he buys this piece of land, and this woman just moves in with him. And he's like, okay, that's what the world decided to do. I'm like, yeah, whatever. But it's quite an interesting idea that you take the situation and you go with it.
Yeah.
And if coronavirus is doing its thing, it's doing its thing. I can't stop coronavirus. I can't cure it. I can only do what feels right. and that is not going out and seeing the general public. It's not going to the supermarket ever again.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah, I find myself eating stuff like that.
I've just started this one. I can't really read it out. Can you see that? Or is it backwards?
Ikigai.
Ikigai, that's it.
Yeah.
So it's the Japanese secret to a long and happy life. So it talks about I can't remember what the island is in Japan, or the area where they've got the most amount of centurions.
Centurions. No, centurions.
Centurions?
Centurions is like the
Yeah,
Roman.
yeah. Oh, there was a cartoon called Centurions. I don't know. Well, most people are over the age of 100, and it's saying why they reach 100, and like they don't have a word for retire. You don't retire. You just continue to carry on doing what you love doing, and you exercise every day, but you don't do hard exercise. So most people have got their own gardens. You always picking, growing, and it's really great exercise in the garden, because it's like short little bursts of you're on your knees 1 minute and you dig in and you do a bit and stuff like that. The diet, what they eat and everything, and I just thought it was really interesting. Actually, I was just into that, and trying to stay fit and healthy, so that's good. I'm still reading the CMO periodic table, which I've been reading for ages now, because I just kind of read it at one chapter at a time. When I was on the bus, I used to read one chapter at a time. I'm just about to finish The Brand Gap by Marty Neumeyer as well. And hard books, reading books, I just read little bits at a time. I don't have a period where I can just read, because I'm either too tired or too busy. But audiobooks, when I'm running, in the car, I have so many of these periods to listen that I can get through about 2 audiobooks a month, where when I've got a hardback book, it could take me 6 months to get through, because I just don't have the reading time. And I know that's a cop out. I know it is. And the best time for me to read would be at the end of the night. I'm just too tired. Too tired. Just can't concentrate. So audiobooks, I'm just plowing through them. I've just finished one of the most boring audiobooks ever. And it was all about disruptive innovation. And I don't hate putting things down. It wasn't the content. It was just, it felt like it was read by a robot. It's awful to say that. There's Clayton M. Christensen, and it's articles. It's like white papers or articles all about disruptive innovation. And the narrator, it just sounded like a robot. I just couldn't get into it, but because I paid for it, I plowed. I just kept going to the end. I had to finish it, but I couldn't tell you one good thing about that. It was quite heavy going as well. So yeah, just that's me at the moment. And the podcast, just listen to a lot of the same ones. Gavin Bell, listen to Gavin Bell, his podcast. Robin Kennedy, listen to both theirs. They're great. Yeah, look, still just consuming stuff about brand marketing, just trying to learn, because that inspires me for my videos and my podcast. And like if I listen to a good audiobook and then listen to lots of good podcasts at the same time, within a matter of weeks I'll normally be able to sculpt another video just by things that I pick up. So that helps. But I think the next phase of videos I'm going to make, it's all going to be about mindful brands. It's all going to be about internal culture. It's going to be about creating a support network, check-ins. It's going to be about physical and being active, spiritual, all these things at work. And what is 21st business going to look like post-COVID? And I think it's going to be about mindfulness at work, flexible working, positive cultures, and completely different working processes and relationships. I think that's what we're going to start seeing.
And I do think as well there'll be changes in how people effectively market as well. I mean, you only have to look at like TV adverts at the moment, ones that they've cobbled together really quickly to change, and I think that's the right thing. That's the right thing to do. I mean, so for example, one of the things that we did for our clients was we went and reviewed everyone's blog posts and just checked, like, is there a picture of people hugging and high-fiving, and is that appropriate for the article? And if we put something out and it sucks in the image from the website. Is that the right image that you want to create?
Yeah.
So we actually changed some blog post images of people that were a bit too close together.
Yeah.
Just because I think stuff like that matters. People definitely look at things now and go, oh, they're a bit close.
Yeah.
You know, right, subconsciously or consciously. But it's been interesting, like a lot of the adverts for things like Sainsbury's or Tesco telling you how to shop now, or some things that are just telling people to stay safe and stay at home. It's all, they actually feel very authentic, and like it doesn't matter that like spending £5 million on an advert is not appropriate at the moment.
No, it's impossible to do it anyway, isn't it?
It's impossible to do it. But if you'd spent, what was the, that was it. So a good example is different scenario, but obviously with Australian tourism and the whole big film that they made with Kylie Minogue and all that, because they had to pull it because of the bushfires. But similar kind of thing. If you've like spent millions of dollars on a big advertising campaign where it's just not appropriate, it's going to completely miss the mark. So I think the way that people will advertise or talk about their businesses or market will change, and I think we will see several companies that do marketing suffer because they're not able to adapt to that. They might get through the coronavirus part, but they won't be able to adapt to what the new mood is at the end.
In terms of brand strategy, obviously, I have a big passion for that. The core of the brand strategy that I work with, and the work I work with my clients, is about your vision and your purpose. They're the two main things. And once you know your vision, where you're going, where what you're working towards, and your purpose, what you stand for, what's your why, that actually then to sculpt your message. So if there's brands out there that are still telling a message that was relevant 4 weeks ago, they're telling it now, they've obviously not looked at their vision and not looked at their purpose. And I think this is the time now to look at those two things. We've got this little period, or I hope it's little, where we've got time and energy to look at our vision and look at our purpose. Because if we spend time on that as a collective or within your organization, then your message is going to change. And that's what's quite exciting at the moment, that we're just redeveloping our whole website. Is what's our message now? What do we want to tell the world about who we are, and what do we stand for, and what value can we add to any brand that we work with? And that's why it's a great time to do that. So if there's lots of not just marketers out there scratching their heads, or if there's lots of business out there that are wondering what to do, I would say, what's your vision? What's your purpose? And then how do you retell your new message? That would be what I would advise companies out there to do now, any type of organization. But cool, it's been wicked to talk. I think we should let's have a chat again soon in a few weeks' time. I'm sure we'll have a very, very different conversation. But say hello to the team for me.
I will. I speak to them every day. We have one thing we do is at 9 o'clock every day, we have half an hour of chit chat.
Nice.
Like we're not talking about clients. We'd probably talk about bloody coronavirus, because it's what everyone's talking about.
Yeah,
but exactly. It's to try and replace the banter and the chit chat that I think we all miss. So we make an effort to do that. So I will talk to them tomorrow morning and tell them that you said hi.
All right, nice one, dude. Well, look, take care.
Stay safe.
I will stay safe.
Everyone says stay safe.
Yeah, I will do. And we'll catch up soon, dude.
Yes, okay, mate. All right, nice to talk to you. See you soon.
All right, see you later.